Let's be honest. We don't know anything about our elected officials. They're hidden behind curated social media profiles and press releases to the point that they often seem barely human. We're here to break down those barriers and get under the hood of their real character. Our guest today is Assemblyman Andrew Zwicker of New Jersey's 16th Legislative District. My name is Scott Salmon, and this is Politically Driven. So first, I just want to start off, you got very dressed up for this. I want to make sure you know this is not a job interview. You already have the job.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
Well, every 2 years, I get to find out if I get to keep the job.
That's fair. Fair enough. Okay. So I know you have a doctorate. So should I call you Dr. Zwicker? What do you like people to call you?
According to my mom, everyone calls me Andrew.
Okay.
So let's keep it with Andrew.
Andrew, okay. What's your doctorate actually in?
It's in plasma physics.
Plasma physics. Okay. And what was your thesis? What was it called?
It was a long thesis. I was trying to get a really long title, but it had to do with soft X-ray spectroscopy using multi-layer mirrors, which would translate into I built instruments that would allow me to take the light that comes out of a fusion energy experiment, and from measuring both the brightness of the light and the wavelength, the colors of the light, I could figure out what dirt, what impurities got into both the core and the edge of these plasmas that are hotter than the center of the sun.
So that was supposed to be the layman's version of it?
That was the layman's version. I spent my whole career working on science education and talking to people of all ages in terms of complicated science, so I'm happy to spend this whole time talking about fusion, or we can talk politics.
Fair, we can do both.
All right.
So we'll speak on that. Who is your favorite scientist? And you cannot say Rush Holt.
That's the most influential scientist in my personal life. My favorite scientist is Nikola Tesla, because while people maybe know about the name Tesla from the car, there's been a couple of movies about him. When you talk about scientists being ahead of his time, he was a scientist when Edison was a scientist. Right. And this whole discussion debate over alternating current versus direct current was really about Edison versus Tesla. And he did some of the most incredibly innovative things. And so he is someone where you go, wait a minute, how could back there 100 years ago have he had these ideas? Yeah. So he's pretty crazy.
So now I know there was a huge debate over who was better, Tesla or Edison. Do you take a firm stance on this, or do you?
I am out of that. Right. I'm a good politician, so I'm staying out of the Edison versus Tesla.
Okay.
Edison's more well known,
right.
But phonograph, light bulb. How do you compete with that?
So I know you ran for Congress first,
right.
In the 12th district back in 2014.
Yep.
After Rush Holt retired. Was that why you decided to get in, or was there another reason?
So what happened was I'd already been frustrated with a bunch of different things that were happening in Washington. In part, a lack of understanding of how investment by the federal or the state government in research and development drives economic activity. It's what I focus on now at the state level. Well, and this is actually a key thing. Democrats and Republicans alike came to me saying, because they had sort of known I was doing a bunch of different things that, while not necessarily political, we're talking to lots of different groups and kids and civic organizations.
Outreach, the stuff that makes up politics
exactly.
Anyway. Yeah, okay.
And we're like, people came to me, in fact, my direct supervisor at the time, who's a Republican, said, I don't care about political party. I believe there should be more scientists in politics, in elected office. Would you ever consider running for Congress? And I had to go back to him. It's a totally true story. I had to go back to him the next day because I went home to talk to my wife and said, my boss said something really kind of crazy, but I've been so frustrated. Why not? And first I had to make sure my wife wasn't going to laugh at me.
That was really the first time you thought of it when someone else suggested it?
It was one of those things where I thought about it, but
sure,
you're
not
not going to make the plunge, right? Okay. And I went back to my boss and I said, were you serious? He's like, no, I was very, very serious. And over the course of about a week or so, several people had come to me with similar ideas, to the point where I said, that's really kind of weird that all these people are coming to me. And I started thinking about it very seriously at that point. And so I jumped into the Democratic primaries, but I was the last one to jump into the primary. I was the only one without any experience at all. And we had a series of debates, which were great experiences. I canvassed, went door knocking, and I did very well. I came in last, but I as I like to say, I lost less worse than anyone ever imagined.
Okay,
Right?
that's fair criteria.
And that was because people were very intrigued by the fact that a scientist was running for elected office, and that pushes, evidence-based decision-making pushes party perhaps to the side. It's not going to always push to the side, but it got enough independent voters, unaffiliated voters, moderate Republicans, Democrats going, that's kind of interesting,
Right.
I'll check you out. And, it's interesting. So, in 2015, I became the first Democrat in the 16th legislative district's history, which they didn't tell me when we first talked about
Really?
it, by the way. No. We talked about I could be the first physicist in the New Jersey legislature, but they left out the part that
They left out the part
in
with
the 40 plus
guy.
years of the district's existence, no Democrat had ever won. But that's fine. I mean, I like a good challenge.
So I know you ended up winning by 76 votes.
78.
70. Oh man, I robbed you of two votes there.
Yeah.
But I was told that the night of the actual election, you didn't realize that
Right.
you thought you had lost, and I was
Right.
told you gave a concession speech.
I did. Thank goodness that's not legally binding.
Yeah.
So,
First question: did you write a victory speech
Nope.
at the time? Did you just okay?
I didn't write a concession speech either.
Okay, you just
I didn't write. I mean, I knew what I was.
You knew
gonna
one of those options
say,
was a possibility.
and I knew what I would say, but I didn't write down either.
Okay.
I went in having no idea. I was knocking on doors till 4:30 election night. It's dark, it's cold, it's freezing. The last door I knocked on, I walked up a driveway in Montgomery, and someone actually pulled in just as I was walking up the driveway.
Oh, it's always awkward when they're like
Right.
getting out of the car and
Right.
you're like, yeah.
And a woman gets out of her car, and I say, "Excuse me," and she turns and she goes, "Oh, I recognize you. I just voted for you." And I said, "Thank you." And then she says to me, and it's totally true, she goes, "Wait a minute. My husband's inside, and he hasn't voted yet. Come on in." So she invited me into their home, and we basically shamed him into voting. And he said...
Without her, you could have had 77 votes.
Right, but-
So we're what town are we driving through now? Do you know?
We are in Rocky Hill right now.
Okay, Rocky Hill. You have some very different areas
Yep.
of New Jersey in your district. You have obviously Princeton, a place like Rocky Hill. You have I think it was South Brunswick. I
South
believe.
Brunswick and Hillsborough, Raritan,
Hillsborough, yeah.
Reddington, Delaware, Stockton, Somerville. I have
Stockton's a great example, just how as different places you get from like Princeton.
Well, I have 14 towns, right?
Yeah.
In parts of 4 counties.
So my question is, how do you reconcile the needs of Princeton versus Stockton, say?
I don't think the question is, why are they any different? People are looking for a wonderful place to raise a family, making sure that New Jersey is affordable as it can be, that their tax dollars are being spent. So whether you are a small town, whether you are a town that has more Democrats or more Republicans, the needs are exactly the same. And my job is to represent the needs of every single person in my district. So we didn't look at when I was campaigning. When I campaigned, we actually don't look at it by town. We look at it each person, regardless of where they live, because the borders of the town don't matter. It's the same thing when I'm representing people, and these 14 towns and the mayors and the police chiefs and everything else. There are sometimes specific issues to the town, but in general, everybody wants the same thing.
It's about finding those the values and the things that they do share.
Sure, of course.
You mentioned before the East Coast liberal elite kind of thing, which especially imagine is especially difficult with given your background. How I think we've seen lately this kind of like anti-intellectual undercurrent that's been going on. I think we've always had it, but it's especially visible lately. Have you experienced that to be an issue? And if so, how do you deal with it?
So I think there's a couple of different things. There's the national dialogue, of which I'm extremely troubled, and I can talk about that. And then there's sort of the local New Jersey piece of it. At a local level, the answer is no. The people of New Jersey and of the 16th district, they're back to what I said before. I mean, they're well-educated, well-spoken, thoughtful people. So that's not an issue. In campaign mode, my opponents, that's an easy, obvious place to try to attack me. But it doesn't work because it's putting these labels on as opposed to just looking at actions and what it is that, in my case, I'm trying to do and represent, and what are the ideas. So it got away from just what are the ideas, what does New Jersey need? We're fortunate in New Jersey, both in the legislature, the parties, we certainly disagree about many things, but I have great friends on the other side of the aisle. We can talk and debate, and do talk and debate about many, many things. And so I don't see the polarization here in New Jersey, certainly not in the 16th, but I don't see it anywhere in the state. Sure. But the trend is deeply troubling.
Are there any perks to the job that people wouldn't know about, like a sort of like an unwritten perk that you get that you think is pretty cool? Like the cool, like you get, I know you get different license plates and things like that.
Right, I don't have the license plate.
Okay. Is there anything like that you can think of?
I mean, the perk of the job is the fact that there's roughly 9 million people in New Jersey and 120 members of the legislature. So the perk is a chance to make a significant difference in the lives of the people of New Jersey. A license plate, I don't have that, but it's a trivial thing. Yeah. I know this sounds corny, but it is, I will do this as long as the people of the 16th have me. But it's what a pleasure and what an honor. So that's the biggest perk.
What are the similarities, you think, between being a physicist and being a politician? I imagine you get asked a lot about the differences.
Right.
I'm curious what the similarities are.
I think the similarities are that in both cases, you're a problem solver. Right. All right. Now, maybe you are trying to tackle, a person's come to the office and says they need help with some state agency, and we're just trying to cut through some red tape. And we do that all the time. That's incredibly satisfying because we're helping out people on a one-to-one basis. But you could also be trying to come up with new public policy, trying to, in my case, let's say, how can we continue to grow New Jersey's innovation economy? And so there's a lot of variables, there's a lot of moving parts with this. You've got to figure out how to break it down into solvable parts, map it into what's legislative, what might have to happen out of the governor's office, what might be a county or municipal level. So you take a multivariable problem and try to break it down into a lot of smaller, solvable parts. And that, in the end, is, I think, what a scientist is always doing, and that's what a legislator is doing. Hopefully doing. Sure.
What they're doing, yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Another thing that a scientist does and a legislator does, certainly, hopefully, is absorbing a large amount of material on economic issues, social issues, tax issues, transportation issues, whatever it might be. And then using that to inform whatever it is that you're trying to work on at the same time. So I think that not only there's similarities and there's many, many differences, but I think a scientist, my background as a scientist, has hopefully made me a better elected official. But I think now, as a member of the General Assembly, it's helped me in my day job at the lab as well. So there's a real cyclical going back and forth.
I'm going to use as many science-sounding words as I can.
You can. Cyclical. You know what? There's a real synergy, right?
Yes.
It's not bifurcated at all. You just let me know. I keep on dropping as many as you want.
I got into a battle of the masters here, didn't I?